Once upon a time, Ogbuefi lived happily in his Aniobi with his two wives, Ugodia and Mole. Two of them had two daughters, Akweke and Ugwedu. They lived happily. They ate together, drank together, and shared everything together as one big happy family. Their happiness was admired by everyone in the village, and everyone wished to emulate them. But Mbeke hated their happiness. Mbeke became friends with Imori and began to manipulate her by turning her against her co-wife and her stepdaughter. She said to Mori, "Enyi m ọma, ịkpụdokwala isi. Nne, are you blind? Don't you see what your husband Ogbuefi Akadiofo bought for Ugodiya and Akweke? He buys them the most expensive gifts and gives you an Ugedo, cheap and ugly things. Nne, imuzekwana anya." Mure was surprised because she has never noticed these things. So she said, "Ah, Nne, look at this abada. Look at this jigida. Are they not beautiful? Nne, look at them very well. Nne, look at them very well. Look at what the beautiful things my husband got for me and my co-wife. It does not matter." Mbeke sighed. "Nne, you don't have eyes. You're not seeing." Mbeke continued to poison the minds of Mori until one day, Ogbuefi bought a special gift for Akweke and promised to buy something better for Gedo next time. Mori heard him say this and ran out of the hut and held Ogbuefi, and she began to cry. "Nani, Nani, Mbeke said you don't like me and my daughter, but I thought she was lying. But look at what you just did. Nani, this is unfair." Ogbuefi was surprised, and immediately he yelled. He warned her, and he said, "Bianwanya, don't cause trouble in my house again. Look at how peaceful my house is. I've seen you and this your friend Mbeke. Every time she's here causing trouble, telling you things, and you're listening to her. In fact, I don't want to see her in my house again." Mori looked at Ogbuefi and snapped her finger and began to yell at Ugodiya. She blamed her for poisoning their husband's heart and turning his heart away from them. From that day henceforth, Mori began to cause trouble in the house. This went on until Ugodiya fell ill and died mysteriously, leaving her only daughter Akweke in the care of Ogbuefi and Mori. Ogbuefi, not knowing how to console Akweke, began to shower her with so many beautiful gifts. Abadao, jigida, uli, to beautify herself, so that she won't feel the absence of her mother. But this angered Mori. So whenever Ogbuefi was not around, she took out her anger and jealousy on Akweke. She made her to work and work and work with little or no food. She even made her do chores that were meant for Ugedo, and this made Ugedo very lazy. arrogant and rude, while Akweke was hardworking, respectful, and loved in the village. Mori, seeing all these things, became very bitter because even after everything she's doing, Ogbuefi still loved and showered Akweke with so many blessings and gifts. So she consulted her friend Mweke, who advised her that they would have to send Akweke away to an errand that she would never return. So they decided to send her to fetch water from Njaba on an Ekede when no one fetches or visits Njaba. They said if wild animals don't eat her, then surely Mmiri or Muafia will not let her go. So she's not going to come back. And they smiled. Nne, ịmakwa na-efe. On the next Eke market day, Mbeke yelled, Akweke! Akweke! Yanga! Lee udu mmiri a ji ebule ka iji chutere m mmiri. He yelled at Akweke and commanded her to head to Njaba to fetch drinking water. Akweke was shocked that Mori, her beloved stepmother, would send her to Njaba, knowing that nobody visits Njaba on an Ekede. She cried and begged Mori that Njaba is a very dangerous place to go to or fetch water from on an Ekede, and begged her to allow her visit or go the next day to fetch her water. But Mori refused and said that she should not have touched her drinking water. Or Mosigi je kulu mmiri, ịṅụchago n'ihe jee ka ije chutere m ya. Akweke began to cry and beg for her life, but it didn't matter to Mori because she was determined to send her away. Akweke picked her udu mmiri and began to go to Njaba in tears and afraid. Akweke had only walked a mile before she entered into the dreaded Ofialose, where she met the spirit of Ajofia. Her stomach rumbled and her hands shrieked in fear because she had heard tales of the dreaded masquerade Ajofia. Not knowing what to say, Akweke began to sing and narrate the story of her life. She began to sing, Onwambo kam kalugi inine. Onwambo kam kalugi inine. Imana kunye dimu denjo ini. Najeram kulumiri je anuono ini. Osimu kwoyo wamire mmiri ṅụrụ inine. Osimu kwoyo wamire mmiri ṅụrụ n'ime. Ọ sịrị gịnị inine? Njaba inine. Ọ sịrị gịnị inine? Njaba inine. Mmiri sere warawara gbawa n'egwe inine. Mmiri bulu amụma mgbawa n'ezi inine. Ewo n'enwa ndori niile. Ewo mmụọ mmiri ndo inine. Ewo nwa mmiri ndo inine. Ewo nwa mmụọ ndo inine. Ajofia looked at her with pity, and Ajofia had mercy on her and let her go. Ajofia turned and showed her the right and safer road to take, so that she would not encounter other wicked spirits that would not listen to her. Akweke ran in tears and happiness, and she thanked Ajofia, and she continued her journey. She walked for a while and met an old woman carrying a huge firewood on her head. Akweke took pity on her and decided to help her carry her firewood. But the spirit woman looked at her and asked, Nne, kedu ife ị nọ n'ime ofe eme? I chezọkwa na ọkwa n'ime ofe alụsị ka ị nọ? Akweke looked at her and began to sing again. Ụmụọkamkalụ gị inine, ị ma na nwunye nna m dị njọ inine, ejere m kuru mmiri m ga-aṅụ inine, ọ sị m kwụọ ya ụgwọ mmiri ṅụrụ inine, ọ sịrị gịnị inine, njaba inine, mmiri sere warawara gaa n'eluigwe n'ime mmiri buru amụma mgbawa n'ezi inine, ewo, gịnị ka m mere ya inine, ewo, gịnị ka m mere ya inine. As she was singing, this old spirit woman began to take pity and decided to give her a gift for her humility and for helping her. So she offered her 2 pots, one big pot and one small pot. She now told her to take this pot and run home immediately, that Njaba is not a forgiving spirit, that she should take this pot and go home, that a keg of water from Njaba is already waiting for her at home. She now told her to wish upon the pot and all her desires would come true. Akweke ran in tears and happiness and thanked the spirit woman, Nne, Dalo, and she ran home. On getting home, she saw a keg of water and she immediately took it to More, who was already angry that she returned in the first place. She immediately ran back and brought out the magic pot and wished for a plate of food. Immediately, instead of getting just a plate of food, Akweke got a variety of different foods, Oba, Okporoko, Miede. This astonished Mori, Mbeke, and Ubedo. But it angered them because this is not what they wanted. They wanted her to die in the forest or to be drowned by Njaba. But instead, she came home with a magical pot that she can wish for anything and anything would be given to her. Out of jealousy, More decided to send her daughter Ugedo to go to Njaba on Aneke so that she would bring back her own magical pot to her. Ugedo began to embark on this journey with so much pride and arrogance. She entered Ajofia. She encountered Ajofia and boldly she looked into his eyes and demanded to know where she is going to get her own pot. Biamawa, Hebu, Kebe Ngesibutegodi ite nkem. Nwanne m nwaanyị bịara ebe a, unu bunye ya ite. Bunyere m nkem ka nnaba. Ajofia laughed and pointed her towards a dangerous road. She smirked, hissed, and she muttered a word. And she headed into Njaba. Next, she met an old woman carrying a firewood. The old woman begged her to please assist her. Instead of assisting this old woman, she taunted and made fun of her. The old woman smiled and asked her to come, that she has a gift, a magical pot for her. She abandoned her quest. The old woman gave her a big pot and a small pot, then asked her to pick one of the pots. Her greed would not even allow her to think, and immediately she ran and she picked the biggest pot out of the collection. She immediately ran. She immediately ran home without even hearing the instructions or thanking the old woman. At the sight of her, Mbori and Mbeke rejoiced in the excitement of the riches that they will soon acquire from the pot. Ugedo handed this pot to her mother, who quickly smashed the pot to bits. And to their dismay, instead of glorious buffet and riches, they were attacked by wild and ferocious animals that quickly devoured them and disappeared, leaving no trace. Ubefi came home and was greeted with this sad news. He only shook his head and he said, "Ihe onye metere, o jiri isi ya wee buru ya." Moral lesson. This story talks about kindness. It talks about humility. It talks about hard work. And it also teaches you that all those values are capable of opening the strongest doors for you. So kindness and humility, hard work should be our watchword every single day. What moral lessons did you learn? You can always add yours.